are done.
And we're live. Okay, I'm going to call to order the Crewe Town Council meeting for Monday, May the 8th, 2023. We'll begin with a moment of silent reflection. And remember that this month we also celebrate Memorial Day. Thank you. If everyone would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Let's begin with approval of minutes and agenda. Council has in their packets minutes from the regular meeting from April the 10th, 2023, and the work session from April the 17th and April the 24th, both of which were budget work sessions. Are there any questions, comments, concerns on those or the agenda, or anything to be added to the agenda? Is that not on there?
I think it's on there.
I thought I saw it.
I know it's usually in closed session, but I don't know.
It's on there, 11A.
Gotcha, I missed it, okay, never mind, I'm good.
Okay, excellent. Anything else? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes and agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Davis.
Second.
Second by Abel. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We move now into presentations. We have a presentation from Crewe Cares.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi. I'm
Absolutely. And you might want to just make sure that the mic's on. I did not check that. Let me check it for you. One thing I forgot to
Want
say.
everybody out there?
Right.
All 10 or 12.
How close should I be? So it's not distorted.
No, I think you're good. It's mostly just for the people live streaming in,
Okay.
and for Tiffany to take notes when she gets back.
All right. My name's Mike Montecalvo. I've moved to the area in 2019, purchased a little house on Jenningstown Road. Not actually in town, but part of the town anyway, close enough. We started Crewe Cares. Crewe Cares is a non-stock, non-profit corporation. We have been 501c3 approved. We just got that approval not too long ago. We rent a small room in the back of Heaven Bound Baptist Church, right there at the rear entrance, right there on Carter Street.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all may have seen the sign when y'all drive by or whatever, but that's where we work out of. We've already outgrown that space, but it's still working, so we're still making it work. So we're searching for a larger location, which will come in time. We're starting off as a food pantry, which is the service that we're providing right now. Part of the reason is my thoughts with that food pantry. One, it helps the community for those that are food insecure. Hopefully it helps cut down on crime, because if somebody's hungry, they'll do whatever they need to do. So hopefully it cuts down a little bit on crime locally too. We are looking to not only be a food pantry, but also when we find a facility able to become and I hate to use this phrase, but a per se soup kitchen to where maybe once a month
Good,
we can do a community dinner,
good.
bring everybody together, or if the need is there and it's able to maybe a couple times a month, whatever we're gonna be able to do. We also would like to have it to become like a coat closet to where people in the wintertime need coats or something, that it's there. Long term, eventually be able to possibly have furniture and stuff, warehouse somewhere where if somebody has a fire and loses everything, they can come to us and say, hey, there was just a catastrophe and we can help them in any way we can. It's designed to be a community corporation. It's designed to help the community grow, to help each other grow, and to help the community grow, is how I kind of foresaw this when we first started. One of the reasons that we're here tonight was to ask the council if they would be willing to donate this facility so we could use it to do a dinner, a community dinner, just to help us along a little bit. We work in cooperation with other organizations. FACES, that's in Farmville. I don't know if you're familiar with FACES or not.
I am.
Hope, they're the ones that started doing the food drive at the park here last summer.
Yes.
They moved to Burkeville.
Yeah.
We work in cooperation with them also. We work with the Alms House, Nottoway County Health Department. We work with them. We're also a pantry for emergencies. So we passed out some pamphlets. If anybody calls or you run across anybody that's in need and doesn't have anything to eat, call me, and I'll give you my cell number to call me directly, and I'll make sure I meet up with them to get them something to eat or to feed their families, whatever. We're here for the community. And I have a format to go by, but I haven't been looking at it, so bear with me.
That's all good.
Told you I was going about a seat in my pants.
Yeah, that's all good.
But mainly it's to bring people together. And part of the dinner and all is to go back to the old-fashioned way of networking before computers and all that came around, where people actually sat down and had a meal together and actually talked with each other, you know, and enjoyed the company of each other. And hopefully that would help. And I'm going to use this as an example. If a farmer's getting ready to bale hay and he needs a few people to help him, hopefully somebody will be at that dinner and they can sit down and say, hey, well, I'm going to be baling hay, and this guy's like, well, I need a couple extra dollars to get by this month. And hopefully he'd be able to work that out that way.
Yep.
Eventually, and Tammy will touch base on it, eventually we want to go into an educational part, to help tutoring people. You know, where I've got a couple of friends that are teachers, and they said they'd be willing to come in and help tutor people, get them ready for the GEDs, or help them with filling out resumes. So hopefully they can get jobs. Hopefully partner with some larger companies that are always looking for help. And if people come in saying they're looking for work, that we can put them together and see if they can make it work together and possibly give them a job. And at that part, since I haven't followed the format, I'm going to turn it over to Tammy.
We would also like to be able to add a wellness aspect to the center itself. So if there were folks that had issues figuring out insurance, if they're transitioning from Medicaid to Medicare or commercial insurance to which Medicare product, which Part D is going to work for me, we would be able to have someone from social services, case managers. We could even attempt to partner with Longwood, the social work department. The students up there, as well as the nursing students, are having difficulties finding placement. So they need to see more than or less than ideal conditions, as opposed to going to a large city social work or social services they would be able to get in touch with the people and sit down. You could also use that as a capstone project for them, because they could be assigned to a family and actually serve as their case manager to have those resources. You could have the nursing students that need to come out. They need to learn how to do injections. They need to learn how to do immunizations and assessments. So that would be, instead of in a hospital, which is typically where the students are placed, they would be placed in the community, and hopefully you could retain them to provide your services here. So that's what we're looking to do. As far as the education piece, we would like to be able to have folks that volunteer. The high school students need to have community service. There are folks that are retired that are looking for something to do. The little kids, the Girl Scouts, they have to have community service. So you could help to promote literacy that way. So, but this will all require a physical location other than a small closet and to accomplish these things.
And we did meet with Jay earlier and spoke on locations, but since we are a 501c3, we can also bring other grants into the town in cooperation with each other that would help with the renovation of the town. And I'm not real familiar with how all that works yet. I'm working on it, doing more research. But that, we just wanted to introduce ourselves and let you guys know what we're thinking, who we are, you know. Are there any questions?
Questions from council?
At what point were you gonna, the dinner thing, when do you think you might be coming back to council to ask
Well,
this facility?
I hadn't thought that far ahead yet. No, I didn't know if, there was no reason setting a date if we weren't gonna be able to use the facility.
Okay.
If the council was to say, yes, we agree, that would be nice to have a little community dinner here, then within 60 days, so we have time to make up flyers, announce it, so the community knows that the dinner's gonna be here, and have it,
Yeah.
you know, advertised.
And so it coordinates with everything.
Yeah, so it coordinates. I mean, I wouldn't just pop up and say, oh, by the way, tomorrow I'd like to have a dinner. No. But I mean, be able to coordinate it so it would be a community thing where not just a certain group of people would find out, but hopefully the community would find out.
Yeah, we'd have to have something way in advance because this place is pretty booked.
Okay. I mean,
for a
we'd
lot
work
of
with you in
activity.
any way we had to.
For the dinner, were you thinking a weekday or a weekend?
In my mind, I was thinking more of a weekend, like a Friday or Saturday, which is probably your busiest nights here, I would imagine.
Right.
I was just thinking a weekend because of people that are working and have to get up to go to work the next morning may not come because they're like, oh, I'm too tired, I gotta get up in the morning.
We'd have to really look at
But I'm flexible.
Right.
Whatever
It's,
would work best with the facility and what you guys think would work best with the community.
so this is a community center, and it should be for the community. The only thing I see is this facility also needs to generate a little bit of revenue to maintain, and weekends are how we generate that revenue by booking it on weekends. Now, I do encourage you to reach out to other organizations as well to see, for example, the Kiwanis Club would have pancake suppers in here, and they were very well attended pre-COVID. And they were all on, I think, Tuesdays or Thursdays. They were all during the week. So people do want things to do on the weekdays. So it's not a.
I'm open to that too.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not really set on a certain night or anything.
Okay.
Whatever would work for everybody.
Okay, yeah, and we can get you with Jay and maybe our community development committee to work out the details. I would also recommend you mentioned some of the emergency situations. Have you spoken with Buddy Hyde yet?
I have not, no.
Okay. Buddy is the county's emergency services coordinator. And one thing that he's doing is trying to bring together a lot of the churches and 501c3s and service organizations under what's called a COAD, a Community Organizations Active in Disaster. So individuals and groups who can mobilize after an event, who can provide food, who can provide sheltering, who can provide a lot of those things. And that also may be a way to start networking with a lot of organizations. So definitely reach out to Buddy. His office is over at the courthouse. So definitely one way to go about that. And you guys mentioned networking. That's what it's all about. It's just networking and trying to build up that social capital. So I applaud you for what you're doing.
Thank you. And
Yeah, I
I
do
appreciate
too.
the time.
Thank you.
Wait, I have a
have
question.
Sorry.
Oh, you want to go?
Well, I just wanted to say something short. So I'm a case manager in Farmville at Steps. So we would love to get this plugged in because we have tons of people every day in Nottaway, don't have food, don't have water, need all kinds of services. So is it okay to put this on the table tomorrow?
I'll give you my cell number too.
Okay.
That number right now goes to the office or
Okay,
a small room, and it's basically just a recording. And I
Okay.
don't check it every day, so it may be a couple days before I get back to it.
okay, yeah, it'd be real good to have your cell number.
If you want to write my cell number down, it's
Yeah,
443-944-7839.
okay,
And we're not just for Crewe and Nottaway, we're for anyone that
Right.
needs our services that we
Okay.
can help.
well, good.
I say that because I named it Crewe Cares because it kind of was like Goochland Cares. I don't know if anybody's ever heard that or not, but
Yeah.
that's kind of how I came up with the name, but it's for anybody that needs any help.
Okay. Thank you.
So community dinner as a kickoff event, do you plan on having consistent community dinners or something that... So, and would it be accessible for kids that maybe are a little bit on their own? For kids that are within households where maybe both parents are working, or, you know, or is there a way that we can make sure that those kids are reached?
Absolutely. I'm willing to work any way I can to reach them, even if somehow we get with the community and we take the meals to them.
Right.
Somehow. Just somehow, if the kids were to come here, I would want to make sure we had the parental permission
Okay.
for the children, if they're underage, to come
Yeah.
without the parents.
Right.
Somehow try to figure that out, and just to be on the safe side.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Any other questions? Well, we thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Okay, next up on the agenda, public comments. Are there any comments from the public? Any public comments? Okay, well, as always, we will have a second public comment section at the end of the meeting. So if you're feeling a little bit shy now, you are free to speak at the end of the meeting as well. Review of bill sheets. Any comments, questions, concerns on the bill sheet? Need some water, Jay?
Hey, how much longer do we have with this, are we still on the contract with Chantel on this monthly billing?
Chantel, I believe, is our internet, so
I know, but
For
you know, the
forever.
price of it looks like it's more than internet.
I don't have it in front of me.
Options we have.
Could you do,
Yeah, it's not just regular internet, it's running all the NUTs, it's running all the servers that.
Yeah.
well, can we do like a IT evaluation and just to see if we,
I don't know if it's, yeah, I would love to, because I think the price is outrageous, but is there another provider around here that can?
well, it probably is. I've been hearing about some, but I can't.
Well, you have Chantel and CenturyLink, and Chantel is definitely better than CenturyLink. Well,
yeah.
it's not even
Well,
CenturyLink anymore.
I'm not questioning
Great
that. It's
speed.
it's other organizations that do this other than Chantel too. What I've been hearing.
Well, we'll look into it.
Okay. Any other questions?
Oh, shoot, no.
Hearing none, we'll move on to town manager's report. Jay?
Yeah, if I can get through it. I don't know what just happened, but anyway.
I'd have a cough drop.
Office of Virginia Drinking Water. We got another gold from the state on our water treatment plant performance and excellence in clarification, filtration, and backwash. And that's a good thing.
Oh, very nice.
So they come in and, do evaluations of waterworks around Virginia, and if you score correctly, then you get the gold, and we scored correctly, so that's a good thing. I want to thank our workers that do all that work, that got awarded that, to appreciate the work that they do and their dedication. Public Works has been replacing some fire hydrants that really needed to be replaced right now. Situations where we really needed to go on and fix some things instead of waiting. So I think they're did 2 in the last couple of days. So they've been busy with that, flushing some of the lines. And some of you have noticed that the paving contract that you awarded and the surface treating contract portion of that has pretty much been complete, and we fixed some roads that really needed to be fixed in the town of Crewe and made some people happy. And so I think that went well. And those of you that were kind of close to the pricing, you know that we got a good price on the work that we got, and we got some good quality work at the same time. There are 3, I think I had this right, there are 3 oxidation ditches at the wastewater treatment plant. And those collect a lot of sediment, and they haven't been cleaned out for, I think, Jason told me, Peanut we call him, over 6 years. We cleaned all of those out. It was a cooperative effort between our wastewater people and our public works department. They worked really good together, and they were innovative with some solutions to clean those out, and they got the job done. Now we have to do some valve work on some of the valves that are in those ditches. Virginia Department of Health, Office of Drinking Water, and Hurt and Profit Engineering, we made application to 2 funding grant and loans through the Virginia Department of Health. One is for lead service line connections that go directly into households. There's a lot of money for the lead service line program, so we made application for that. And the other one that we've made application for, which is a pretty extensive application, is for your 4-inch and smaller water distribution lines in town. And we'll have to evaluate how that grant and loan combination comes out when we look at whether we're awarded for that. But that's a big number. That's a $6 million plus number. And the other thing that you have to evaluate, whether you do Virginia Department of Health funding or you go on to another level and look at USDA. But I think that the Virginia Department of Health funding looks like a pretty good option at this point. We'll just have to see where you end up on an award and how much work you can get done. So those were some pretty extensive applications. I sent those to you. I think you had a minute to look at them. Maybe a minute. Yeah, I know you've been busy lately. But excuse me. But those are some grants that we've been talking about for a while, and we wanted to make application to those grants. The other thing is the downtown business district revitalization plan. That's a lengthy process. but we are going to make application with the Commonwealth Regional Council. We're going to start that process shortly, and those will be accepted between July and December of this year. And that's a long-term thing, but you really have to go through that process to get other grants associated with Virginia Housing Community Development for downtown revitalization. So those are a few things that we've been working on over the last period of time since our last meeting.
Questions for Jay?
The paving's been finished up here on Carolina?
Is that the one that goes behind the shopping center where Yoder's is and the apartments? Yes, that has been complete, and it looks pretty good. I've checked it out a couple times. When we supported a grant application for the company that owns those apartments, the mayor, excuse me, folks, the mayor had asked if they could maybe help with some of the funding, and I reached out to them, and they said that they would possibly, depending on what kind of grant applications they received through the venue that they were, organization, I can't remember which one it was, USDA or something. So I'm going to reach out to them and give them the cost of that job, and we'll see if we donate a few $1,000 to Crewe, because it largely serves their apartment complex.
Yeah. Seal coating, have we started back on that yet? 'Cause I knew
They,
that.
I went out to the treatment plant today. I was amazed at how they clean the cracks out in the asphalt, and they had surface treated quite a bit by the time I got there and filled cracks. So it looked like they were wrapping it up today. I don't know if they got to California or not.
Okay.
I hope they did. I know that seal coating that little street is going to make a difference and help preserve it, but that's one that you're going to have to look at sometime in the future to probably asphalt the whole thing again.
Okay, excellent. Any other questions for Jay? Okay, let's let Jay rest his voice for a little bit. Mayor's report. Just a few quick things. A few weeks ago, it all blends together. Habitat for Humanity had its groundbreaking. They're putting up 3 houses in Crewe. The houses themselves should have been delivered.
They're there.
They're all there? Okay, excellent. Oh, that's right, the vice mayor was there too. I think now that they're either ready or getting ready for volunteers to go in and do the final work within the houses. So if anyone's interested in volunteering for Habitat and doing work, they're always looking for volunteers.
And let me just mention something before we get off of those Habitat houses, because that street, we've put down gravel on that street and made it, pretty good as a gravel street. But I've talked to the Commonwealth Regional Council. It might be a stretch, but we're going to try to apply for a comprehensive community development housing grant through Virginia Housing Community Development. I think I have that right, to see if there's a way that we can get that street paved, because
yeah, it's more people down there
low,
now.
moderate income, and it's been a housing program with Habitat and some money that I believe they get from Virginia Housing Community Development. So we're going to try to be creative to see if we can get some money to pave that street.
Absolutely, and then there's opportunities for future partnerships with Habitat as well. I know we've talked in the past about land banks and things like that, and there's other things that Habitat can do to help out the town as well. So we can explore other partnerships in the future. The County Economic Development Committee met again. We're working on our strategic plan, also working on the various issues. They've asked for a list of publicly owned properties. So I'm going to work with Jay to get them that, and we can go from there on that. Lions Club event. What is that? Oh, it's been a month. next Monday, the 15th, so let me step back. The Lions Club, if anyone's not familiar with it, is an international organization with clubs. In the hierarchy is there's local clubs, and then there's regional efforts, and statewide, and I think there's zones in there somewhere, and national entity, and then there's the international. And it's all governed by an international board, and each year there's a new international president elected. And the international president this year is from somewhere in the Midwest. Well, next Monday, the international president of the Lions Club is going to be at the Burkeville Lodge for the Blind, and several Lions Clubs are going to be helping out with getting the Burkeville Lodge for the Blind spruced up for and ready for the summer season, because, as you know, they serve as like a camp for individuals who are visually impaired. So that's a pretty big deal for Lions Clubs and for the Burkeville community and Nodaway in general. So if anyone's interested in helping out and volunteering at that event, I'll be out there. But again, that'll be next Monday at the Burkeville Lodge for the Blind. I'm working with Mayor Welch and with Buddy Hyde about getting some other entities involved to also help, and maybe utilizing that as a sort of an exercise of the COAD group as well. But if any individuals are interested, or if your church is interested, be on the lookout for more information in the next couple of days. And I just wanted to offer some remarks on the successful search for the missing juvenile last week, and to thank our police department, our fire department, all the entities, local, state, who were involved in the search, the volunteers who came out. It was a stressful day, but it was extensive, and it really showed what community can do when we all come together for a common goal. And thank you everyone for all of that, and thank the chief and the fire department and the incident command structure there for that successful search. Any questions? Okay, moving on to Town Attorney's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of council, I don't have anything specific to report tonight, but happy to answer any questions if I can. Happy to be in touch with Chief on the search for the missing juvenile a week or so ago, and glad to hear that night that he was found, and have been continuing to be in touch with Chief on the ECO TDO matter, which is sort of cooled off for a little while. Looks like it's resolved more satisfactorily on a long-term basis, but we'll see. And continue to stay in touch with Jay on other things. Happy to answer any questions if you have.
Thank you. Any questions for the town attorney? Okay, excellent. Committee reports. Finance.
We are, or rather I should say Jay and the folks at the office are wrapping up the final preparation to present, I think on the, did you say the 23rd? When is our
Have the public hearing on the 23rd.
public hearing on the 23rd, which I think coincides with our work session? Once obviously those requirements are met, then we will vote on it and put it in effect and move on to next year.
Okay, any questions for finance? Okay, personnel.
No report, other than to thank our employees for the fine job they continue to do.
Excellent. Okay, thank you, Vice Mayor. Community development. Oh,
What's left of
We'll take what we can get.
Community development.
We're trucking along with homecoming planning. We're into final stages now.
Yeah, go good.
Very exciting.
Okay.
I want to thank Norma Spencer for getting the VDOT stuff submitted. She got me to sign off on it.
Thanks, Norma.
Big shout out.
Appreciate you.
Okay, any questions for community development? As a reminder for everyone, Crewe Homecoming is Saturday, May 20th. Come on out. I think we could still sign up to be a vendor. Maybe?
Technically, no.
Okay.
But I haven't pulled the data yet because we have had some slow submissions, some late submissions. So if you fill it out while I'm here, then you made the cut.
Okay.
So.
Okay, but also still looking for volunteers? Always looking for volunteers.
I don't think so. I had somebody reach out to me that had a team that they were looking for local volunteer opportunities. So I'm waiting to hear back on that. But the volunteer part, we just have the book table. Other than that, the vendors are all responsible for their pieces they're bringing, and the police department is doing security. The fire department is managing the derby. So.
Okay, excellent. And the coffee is not going to be here this year. It's going to be
It's going to be at the old fire station.
the old fire station. Okay, excellent.
So, and the garden club is doing the coffee.
Excellent.
Crewe Garden Club will be.
It's going to help us with the numbers, the vendor.
Yeah.
She has lots of energy, so that's a good thing.
We don't need to be inside. We're going to.
Okay, excellent. Well, it sounds like it's going to be a great event and very exciting.
Tent.
First time in a few years. So everyone come out to Crewe Homecoming from 10 to 4 on May the 20th.
The coffee will be from 9 to 10.
Coffee's from 9 to 10.
We'll be there too.
Okay. And I already gave a little bit of economic development report during about EDC. So moving on to new business. Proposed Town of Crewe boundary line adjustment. That should be under unfinished business, but I left it there. So new business. Jay?
So there's been a lot of discussion with various members of Nottoway County Board. And I've been meeting with some members of the public that are in the boundary line change, which are few. And it seems to me that we're ready to formally go forward with that process. And I think we need to coordinate with the county board to have joint public hearing on the boundary line adjustment. And so I think we're at a stage where we just need to go and formally do what needs to be done and check off the legal things that we need to do to advertise.
Okay, so I guess the next step is to formally ask the county. I guess I could draft a letter and you can meet with Ted sometime between now and the next board meeting.
And there's a lot of that documentation that's been done previously. So I think all we need to do is fine tune that and adjust, some of a small tweak in the actual boundary that we're going to request to come into the town limits. And so we need to formalize that, put it together. And I think our town attorney and their attorney need to work together on it. And that's what needs to happen.
Excellent. So we can draft a letter requesting it. You'll meet with Ted, and Eric will meet with their town attorney, whoever that is at the given moment.
McRoberts.
Okay, is that,
Town
okay,
attorney.
gotcha, very good.
Sans Anderson.
And, okay, and hopefully we can get that done quickly. Any questions on that? Okay, excellent. Next up, item 11B, Ralph Tony Shelton Sr. commemorate Public Works Building. So if everyone will turn to the item that was handed out earlier today. It's a resolution dedicated and naming the Ralph Tony Shelton Sr. Public Works Building. And bear with me as I read this. And if passed, this will be presented as part of Crewe Homecoming celebration. It says, whereas, no, it should say, whereas Ralph Tony Shelton Sr. In the first whereas clause, but anyway. Whereas Ralph Tony Shelton Sr. Attended Parkview High School and continued his education with criminal justice classes at Alberta Community College, and whereas Tony began his career with the Town of Crewe on February 1st, 1975, serving as a police officer, having served previously as Chief of Police for the town of Broadnax. He was later promoted to Sergeant, followed by Acting Chief of Police. While police officer, he also began working in the Public Works Department. After several years, Tony became a part-time deputy sheriff for Nottoway County, while continuing as a full-time employee with the Public Works Department. And whereas Tony later left law enforcement to focus strictly on his role as Director of Public Works for the Town of Crewe. His institutional knowledge of town infrastructure was unmatched. When something broke, Tony was there to fix it anytime, day or night. He maintained high standards on buildings and equipment care for the town. Tony continued this dedicated, loyal service until his retirement in 2021. And whereas Tony further served the Crewe community as a Dixie Youth coach and commissioner of baseball for the Crewe Burkeville Dixie Youth. He enjoyed hunting, fishing, and spending time with his family, and was an avid slow-pitch softball player. And whereas Tony instilled in his team, his employees, his children, and his grandchildren the values of hard work, dedication, and commitment to the job at hand. While Tony passed away in October 2022, his legacy lives on in those lives he's touched and those he's taught, supervised, and coached. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the council and mayor of the Town of Crewe do hereby dedicate to and name the Town of Crewe Public Works Building in honor of Ralph Tony Shelton Sr., whose decades of service to the people of Crewe serve as an inspiration to all. And be it further resolved that the clerk of the Town of Crewe prepare 2 copies of this resolution, one to be presented to the family of Ralph Tony Shelton Sr., and one to display prominently in the Ralph Tony Shelton Sr. Public Works Building.
That's really nice.
Is there a motion on the floor?
So move.
Motion to adopt the resolution. Is there a second? Okay, so motion by Stinson, second by, who won that? By Knight. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
I want to thank Mayor Miskovic for the fantastic job he did on that resolution. Very well done.
Thank you. Well, it was easy to do when, you know, it's for someone who's such a dedicated employee. Okay, moving on. And again, we'll present that as part of the homecoming. We'll work out a timing on that. Request for grant, Nottoway Historical Association. Council should have in their packets item 11C. Thoughts, comments, questions, concerns on that? I think where it stands at this point, all of the other towns in the county have given $2,500. While I don't find everyone else is doing it to be a valid argument at this point, or it's only $2,500 to be a valid argument at this point, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I've kinda,
I'll make the motion. We approve $2,500 for the sign project for the Nottaway County Historical Association.
Second.
Motion by Davis, second by Foss. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries.
good job, folks.
Unfinished business, library roof analysis by Architectural Partners. Jay?
They are working on a bid to put out on the work that needs to be done. And hopefully that'll go out in the next month or so. And there was some discussion about having an A roof, and could the HVAC stuff go somewhere else? And pretty much the architects say, no, you pretty much need to go with what you got. So that's where we are.
Well, it can be changed, it's gonna cost money.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll see what the bids come in at. I'm not gonna tell you about another bid right now, but anyway.
Okay, well, that's always fun. Thank you, Jay. Animal ordinances.
That's kinda,
Well, where were we on that the last time?
I think we,
Where we are now.
yeah, I think we were just kinda putting it on hold, tabled it.
To find out more about how the structure of the mutual aid agreement with the county is established,
Yeah.
as far as who can animal ordinances by the town,
Okay.
you know.
Okay, well, let's, okay, we'll continue to table that for the time being. Updates, Water Committee, Councilman Davis.
Water committee didn't meet last month. Jay, I think, was out of town or ill or something, and so we'll be getting back together, I'm assuming by the end of this month. Still working through the process of trying to figure out exactly what of the many different directions that are in front of us that we think is gonna work the best. And of course, some of that, the boundary line adjustment issue plays and walks hand in hand with some of that. So we're watching that issue to see how we proceed there. Still trying to feel out where Nottaway County is standing. So still moving in the right direction, I think, but not a lot to report in terms of new and exciting things.
Okay, well, council has before them another document, and I don't know if you got a copy of it. If you can hand
I got it.
Eric
I got it.
Aaron's copy.
Here.
Oh, excellent. Just a quick one-ish pager I put together. That's, yeah. Nothing's ever one page. It basically just puts together into one document the where we stand with the various options that Hurt and Profit has put together for us. If you look at that, the last page on that, you'll see a comparison of the various scenarios and the costs they've put together. So the left side of each of those is what the rates would be. The right side, what I've done is I've taken what we consider the quote-unquote water bill, which is water, sewer, sanitation, and I've figured what it would be for someone who uses 5,000 gallons of water per year. So basically 2,000 gallons over the base. So recall that the base is 3,000 gallons. So I don't know what families use. I'm just one person. But assuming that a family uses 5,000 gallons of water, scenario one, water produced at the water treatment plant, supplemented with a Blackstone supply, and state facilities remaining as customers would be the cheapest option. The base rate would be $124 for the water bill total. Again, that's water, sewer, sanitation. And overage would be $159.50. Scenario 3, water purchased from Prince Edward County, no state facilities as customers, limited or no town water treatment plant, depending on how much of the water treatment plant we would need to maintain. That jumps up to, again, the base rate stays at about that $125, but the overage is where it jumps up to about $187 for that. So you can take a look at that just so you have some hard numbers to look at, and numbers that make sense to the average customer. So going back to the first few pages. As we discussed in our budget meetings, regardless of the scenario, base rates for in-town residential water will increase over the next 5 to 10 years from the current $15 for 3,000 gallons to $55 for 3,000 gallons. That's just the reality of the situation we're facing. Council needs to increase rates incrementally, as we've discussed, over the next 5 to 10 years. We have to do that incrementally because, again, significant increases at any one time are disproportionately felt by our low-income and fixed-income populations. You can't shock individuals too much at one time, especially if they're low-income and fixed-income. And especially for something as critical as water and all that. I mentioned the minimum water bill, water, sewer, plus sanitation is projected to be $125 per month in the next 5 to 10 years. And overage rates vary based on the scenario, and you have a table there that lists the 4 different scenarios provided by our engineers, and the water bill based on 5,000 gallons of usage. So again, that's paying that 2 times overage rate. I also go into discussion there. Scenarios 1, 3, and 4 assume additional risk because they involve purchasing from a third party. Scenarios 1 and 4 assume purchasing at least in part from the town of Blackstone. Scenario 3 assumes purchasing from Prince Edward County. Purchasing from a third party makes us fully dependent on that, fully or partially dependent on that third party for that resource, which is classic resource dependence theory. The third party can increase rates over time, providing and or manipulating whatever data is needed for justification. And then I go into the ways that risk can be mitigated. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little professorial here now. Let me just jump down to. I discuss how scenario 1 is ideal in both cost and long-term viability for all county partners. Scenario 1, again, being water produced at the water treatment plant, supplemented with Blackstone Supply and state facilities remaining as customers. Scenario 1 is based on the following assumptions, and those are all the assumptions that the engineers used to come up with that figure. Blackstone's current opening proposal for rates is $8.75 per 1,000 gallons plus $3.26 per 1,000 gallons. That latter figure is to cover capital expenses, what they consider necessary to cover to supply water. The bottom line, the best option for us with the lowest cost per customer and the lowest amount of long-term risk is to partner with Blackstone. In order to make the project affordable as possible for our customers, we need to focus countywide on decreasing all capital expenses associated with the project. Does that make sense? So the idea is we need to decrease the capital expense costs. Basically that 326 cost there will make it as affordable as possible. Everyone is familiar with capital expenses, those are, you know, the pipes in the ground, things like that, what we accumulates the debt service, all of that. So the proposed next steps, countywide task force, a water task force, will determine all relevant capital expenses, come to a consensus on the goals for the project, and I give some examples of what the specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-oriented goals would be. I provide in there the table that the Department of General Services uses for their projections. Number 3, prioritize capital expenses based on 1, actual justified need for achieving goal, and 2, the goal timeline, rather than saying we need, you know, we're trying to, these capital expenses are quote unquote necessary. Why are they necessary? How do they meet the actual goal that the group is trying to achieve? But all this feeds back into number 4, treating this as a regional water infrastructure project, working collaboratively to seek state and federal funding for capital expenses. And I say, see the next page. So what we need to start doing as a county, what all the partners is to, and what Jay's been doing from the town side, is applying for state funding, but also looking for additional money. The next page shows it's just some news article on Representative Jen McClellan, who just recently won Congressman John McEachin's seat over in the 4th district, and she's asking Congress for money for her district for, in large part, water and wastewater projects. So money for their for the district, for localities in the district, for water and wastewater programs, initiatives. We should be doing similar things, but we're not going to be able to make good arguments for doing similar things if we're doing it on our own, or if Blackstone's doing it on their own, or if, so we need to come together as a county in order to figure out and have a specific plan, and then ask Congress and ask the state for specific funding for these projects. All of that makes sense? Okay, and then I go into other things in there. Any questions? Sean missed it all, but you can read. I understand.
Didn't we already reach out to our representatives and ask for assistance on this, and they were not interested?
So when you say our representatives, you mean our state,
right?
Local. Okay. So what I'm saying is, once we start to work together as a county, starting to go to the next level and looking at the at federal funding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because it was a little bit more, it was communicated a little bit more easily when Representative Spanberger represented us in terms of applying for some of these funds. In fact, that's how Blackstone got their fire truck, was through some of these community, what do they call it?
It may not be a bad idea just to shoot some information to Spanberger. She's the one that drove, I know she doesn't represent us, but she's the one that drove the ARPA and the clean water and a couple of these other federal actions that were taking place that provided this money out there in general. She was a driving force behind that. So while she may not be our direct representative, she might very well be willing to listen.
Sure. Absolutely, and before we can do that, though, we need to all come together, and we need to ensure that all partners realize that it's, paying for these capital expenses and making it affordable for everyone, and going with scenario A, or scenario 1, is in the best interest of everyone, including the town of Blackstone, because what we're trying to do is trying to find funding for these capital expenses, which will benefit Blackstone, and Blackstone will have an easier time getting some of this federal funding if we're working as a regional effort.
Are
that
you
makes sense.
asking council right now to select one of these four?
No. All I'm saying is I'm presenting this to council and to everyone as what the current situation is, and also mentioning it as basically what our next steps are for the water task force. Anything else? Okay. Excellent. Any thoughts from your end?
I can talk offline.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Moving on then. Paving project we just discussed. I'm sorry I have that on there twice. Unless we want to talk about it again. Jay's already mentioned DHCD planning grant. I already mentioned water grant and airport improvements. Anything?
So the RFQ that was done a little over 3 years ago to work with an engineering firm to primarily work on the runway and work with the Virginia Department of Aviation, their contract has expired. So as far as working on the paving grant, we're going to have to go out for an RFQ or an RFP, and I'm working with the folks at Virginia Department of Aviation and looking into some other RFPs that have been done specifically for the work that we're looking at to see what direction we should probably go in. I'm kind of leaning on an RFP for the project specific, which is paving and everything related to the runway, rather than RFQ. So I'll keep you posted on that.
Excellent. Any questions? Okay, any other items of business that we've forgotten about? Okay, let's move then into public comments.
I need a stool.
Okay. After being on council for 2.5 years, I still get phone calls.
I'm sorry, could you?
Oh, yeah, I'm Sue Yates.
Thank you.
I live here in town. Okay, so after being on council for a while, my phone still rings with citizens' calls. And of course, I've encouraged them all to come to a council meeting, but most of them don't want to speak up, so they ask me to do it for them many times. So there's been a lot of question about the beer wagon that was just approved, and there's been a fair amount of unhappiness over it. We have an outhouse sitting out there now and a permanent beer wagon, and they're asking, does this meet ordinance? Does it, So it started, when I first saw it, when I found out what it was, I wasn't happy, but since then, I've received a number of calls. So I'd like to know if the ordinances are in place to allow that, because, we're trying to grow the town, and I just don't think, and neither do other people, having an outhouse gives a very good look to the town. My comment, and others. I'd also come tonight to ask that the council consider putting an added street light on Tennessee. between, I think it would be 5th and 6th Street. It's my block. We don't have, it's very dark on that street. And I think, Sean, you can speak to that. But he's under a street light, I'm not, so it's very, very dark. So I'd like, and I had already called Jay Scudder, but he didn't ever get back to me, so I brought it here tonight. I also spoke to Jay about the potholes in the alleys, and he told me he would get back to me on that, and he did not get back to me on that either. So when I try to pull my cars into my yard from the alley, I met with at least one really big pothole. And I think those potholes in the alleys need to be attended to. They're not only not good for the people like myself that drive cars, but we have to think about our trash men that go out there and run these alleys, and they're falling in the same potholes I am, I'm sure, okay? Also, in the 400 block of Tennessee, there is a constant run of water, and I think it's coming from a house. I'm not sure, but I do think our Public Works Department should be looking into that, along with the potholes and other things that I've noticed in town. So that's all I have for tonight, with the exception of, I was just told that there was a separate handout handed to the council. Can the public get a copy of that separate handout that was not handed to us?
Which, oh, yeah. Yeah, we can make that available.
Yeah, if you could do that. And then I would like to announce that the Wash Bucket Initiative finally,
Email you another one.
Well, here, Aaron doesn't need his.
No, Aaron doesn't need, email him.
Which one did you need?
The water one.
Do you need the water one?
Water one or the cares one?
thank you, Jess.
Thank you, Jess.
Thank you, Jess.
Okay, and I'd also like to announce that the Wash Bucket Initiative has finally settled on a date for another Veterans Memorial Dinner, which we're going to be hosting on July 8th. We'll be at the Community Center. We'll be at 6 p.m. We're going to have dinner, a live band. We're going to have he's a 3-star general come and speak. We're going to be highlighting specifically this year the Vietnam vets. And we were originally going to do the World War II vets, but we couldn't find any. Most of them have passed on. With the exception of one World War II vet I found at Cracker Barrel one night. So we're going to be giving this man, I've invited him to the event, and we're going to be honoring him with the American flag that night, just as we did Odessa Cook 3 years ago. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know, and if you should start hearing it on the radio, and it'll be in the newspapers and flyers and that type of thing at this point. So thank you for your time. Okay. Yes, sir. How much is the dinner? I don't hold me to this, but I'm willing to say this. I think it's going to be around $35 a head. Okay. I think last time we did it, it was $30. And I think we're going to have a hard time keeping it under that $35 this year with the increase, but about $35 a head, and it's going to be a cool event. We're going to have the 21-gun salute and the 13 folds of the flag. We're going to have a missing man table set up, and we have the Civil Air Patrol coming in to help us serve. It should be a really neat event. The last event was an A+ event. It was wonderful. So I encourage any and all of you to think of attending, or at least passing the word on, because it embraces all of the traditions of our great military, and it honors those that have served us. And so with the proceeds, just to let you know what we're doing with the proceeds, we're giving a percentage of the proceeds to some veteran establishment, VFW, whatever it might be. Okay, we're going to donate a percentage of the proceeds to them, and because it's about them. And then the rest of the money we're kind of pocketing for right now, because we've fallen upon several grants that we probably will qualify for, and we're hoping to use money to match money for grants. So we have a real good shot at a $100,000 one, but we need to build our coffers just a bit. So, okay, does that answer your question? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone? Last call. Okay. Now we move on to announcements and points of personal privilege from members of council. Nothing? No? Nothing. Okay. Councilman Davis? She has nothing?
Oh, wait, I can pull something out. All right, it's sad though. So the Burkeville Community News recently reported an uptick in fentanyl-related medical emergencies, some resulting in death. So I reached out to a harm reduction organization out in the Roanoke area to ask them to kind of point me into the direction of finding harm reduction resources that serve our area. So they got back to me. I have the names of the resources. I've talked to Chief Morgan a little bit about it, and we're going to kind of coordinate on how to get some harm reduction things into our area, like Narcan and fentanyl testing strips. So,
does Crossroads do any Narcan training?
I'm not sure. I know I want to get up. I guess Phil or Chief Morgan would probably have the information. We had Narcan training at National Night Out last year, and I'm not sure who did it, but I do think it would be a good time to bring it back. And then the test strips are for users to use to help prevent death of overdose. So.
Very good. Okay, thank you. Nothing? No. Nothing? Everyone's got nothing. Nothing? Everyone's got nothing. I've just got a quick thing. On Wednesday, I'll be graduating with a Master's of Public Health from Virginia Tech. So,
Congratulations!
Yay.
So I've got that going on. But other than that, that's still working on the PhD though. That's never a dull moment. But yeah, other than that, I don't think there's any need for a closed meeting.
I don't think so.
Did anyone? You good? You good? You good? Okay. Hearing nothing, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Knight, second by Abel. All in favor? All opposed? We are adjourned.
Very good.
Let me